Brothers, it's horror film time again. Today, it's the American horror movie, Devil in the Elevator. Since watching it, I've been too scared to ride a lift with strangers. The story unfolds in a building's elevator, with 3 men and 2 women inside. After a while, the lift shakes violently and stops midair. Just when they think it's a common malfunction, things spiral out of control. The security room spots something odd with elevator 6 and contacts the repairman. On arrival, he finds the circuits normal. To find out why it's stuck, they decide to restart the power, suspecting a short circuit. Meanwhile, the control room tries to calm them via the camera. Strangely, although the elevator and control room can communicate, the people inside can't be heard by the control room. Soon, the repairman restarts the power, and the elevator goes pitch black, followed by a commotion. When the power returns, an old lady pushes the security guard away. Everyone is shocked by the guard's actions, not expecting him to take advantage of the old lady. The nervous guard quickly explains that he was locked in a box by his brother for 6 hours as a child, causing him to develop claustrophobia. Seeing the guard isn't lying, Jiang Shui helps open the elevator's top frame to let in air, easing the guard's anxiety. Then, the suited man starts selling mattresses, his slick talk annoying Xiao Mei. As Xiao Mei turns away, not wanting to deal with him, she suddenly feels a touch on her backside. Clearly, only the suited man is behind her. Xiao Mei warns him not to harass her, but the suited man looks innocent and tells Xiao Mei to stop dreaming. As soon as he finishes speaking, the elevator lights start flickering, and the repetitive music inside makes everyone anxious. At this point, Lao Bai from the security room asks the repairman if he cut the power. The repairman says he just arrived at the basement and hasn't started any work. He looks at the elevator above and sees no issues. He then restarts the power for elevator number 6, but the lights continue to flicker. The repairman suggests the only solution is to go back to the rooftop and manually restart the elevator by climbing down the shaft. Lao Bai agrees with the plan. Just then, Da Zhuang notices something eerie on the monitor of elevator 6. A face appears and disappears. Da Zhuang thinks he must have imagined it. As the repairman is about to leave, he hears a noise behind him. Driven by curiosity, he looks inside and finds it's a civet cat making the noise. Just as the repairman relaxes, an accident occurs. Luckily, he dodges in time and isn't crushed by the falling elevator. The scene returns to the elevator, where the lights flicker and then go out completely. In the dark, there's another commotion. When the lights come back on, Xiao Mei is found lying on the floor. The others help her up, and she discovers a wound on her back, as if cut by something sharp. Strangely, the suited man has bloodstains on his clothes, which he quickly covers to avoid detection. Xiao Shui asks if anyone has something sharp that might have accidentally cut Xiao Mei. The suited man quickly shakes his head in denial, but the security guard is the first to notice the bloodstains on the suited man's clothes. The man in the suit quickly explained that Xiao Mei must have fallen on him after getting hurt, and maybe she did it herself. This offhand comment made everyone suspicious of him. Xiao Shui suggested they search each other for sharp tools, but the man in the suit refused to cooperate. Just as security was about to deal with him, Lao Bai in the monitoring room interrupted the tense atmosphere. After seeing the wounds on Xiao Mei's back, it was clear this was intentional harm, and they had to call the police. Soon, the nearest detective received the task and found it coincidental that the report came from the same building where a recent fatal fall had occurred on the 35th floor. The detective arrived at the security room and began investigating the backgrounds of the 5 people in the lift. Apart from the security guard who had just started yesterday, Lao Bai said he hadn't seen the other 4 before. The detective asked him to show their IDs under the camera, but the resolution was too poor to see clearly. So, they decided to check the entry and exit logs for information. Before the results came out, Da Zhuang noticed the lift lights flickering again. Afraid of more strange occurrences, the 5 stood in the corner, not daring to move. Suddenly, the lights went out, and the lift mirror shattered with a strange noise. When the lights came back on, the man in the suit was on the floor, convulsing, covered in glass shards. Da Zhuang shouted for the detective, saying something had happened again. When everyone rushed to check, the man in the suit had stopped breathing. The other 4 in the lift looked innocent. The case had now escalated to a murder investigation, and the detective quickly called headquarters for support. Da Zhuang, emotionally charged, said that first, someone committed suicide, then a woman was injured, and now a man was dead, confirming his suspicions. As a devout believer, he demonstrated by tossing a piece of bread into the air, and the side with jam landed face down, indicating that when the devil is near, everything goes wrong, and people get hurt. Da Zhuang said sometimes the devil takes human form to torment those destined for hell before taking him away. He told the detective to consider that one of them might be the devil. Lao Bai quickly pulled Da Zhuang away, and the detective didn't take it seriously, instead using scientific methods to solve the mystery. He reviewed the footage repeatedly, noticing the security guard approaching and then leaving the man in the suit, temporarily listing the guard as a suspect. Further investigation revealed the guard had a criminal record, mostly for serious assaults. The detective couldn't understand why someone would choose to commit a crime in a closed. Faced with 3 witnesses, there must be a motive, and he must have missed something. Then he found an envelope in the man in the suit's clothes. He asked Xiaoshui to take it out and place it under the camera. According to the return address on the envelope, Lao Bai said it was the office on the 35th floor. The detective quickly went to the 35th floor, first checking the progress at the suicide scene. A colleague told him the suicide victim left a strange note, ending with, "I can hear the devil's footsteps approaching." The word, devil, reminded the detective of what Dazhuang had said. He thought the person might also be a devout believer. He then went to the company to learn about the man in the suit's background. From Guiyuan, he learned that the man in the suit was a con artist who, 3 years ago, orchestrated a scam that ruined many people, leading some to suicide. After hearing this, the detective requested a list of all the complaints from the victims. Back in the control room, he asked his assistant to find any unregistered complaints from fraud victims, as they might be suspects. Then he wanted to review all the footage of the 5 people entering the building. At this moment, Dazhuang called the detective over to show him a strange picture. Seeing the detective pretend not to believe it, Dazhuang felt helpless. The detective took out a note from his pocket, saying that 5 years ago, his wife and child died in a car accident, and the perpetrator left this note after escaping prison. The detective said he didn't blame the driver because he apologized, and he could feel the sincerity of the apology. Therefore, he doesn't believe in devils now, nor does he need them, as humans are already evil enough. Soon, the repairman descended on a platform. Lao Bai was eager to know the repairman's progress and kept urging him over the intercom. Helplessly, as the repairman was about to grab the intercom, an accident occurred. He was left hanging midair, and the safety lock unknowingly slipped open. The next second, the elevator, a loud noise came from above, and the repairman fell, his fate uncertain. To prevent such a tragedy from happening again, the detective initiated the second plan. Now the elevator was stuck on the 21st floor, so they had the firefighters break through the wall to rescue people. They then used the registration form and surveillance to preliminarily identify everyone except Xiaoshui. The old lady was a thief, the man in the suit a fraudster, Xiaomei a love scammer, and the security guard a thug. Now, only Xiaoshui's personal information was missing. Finally, they saw Xiaoshui's red backpack through the entrance surveillance, but it was no longer in the elevator, raising suspicion. Just as the detective was about to search for the backpack, Lao Bai called him back. The elevator lights began flickering again, and based on past experiences, something strange was about to happen. The 4 people in the elevator became tense. As the lights went out, a chaotic noise was heard again. When the lights came back on, the old lady was found hanging. Seeing this scene, the others in the elevator were terrified. The detective quickly ordered the entire building to be sealed off and everyone to gather in the lobby. Faced with such eerie events, even the detective felt a chill. Now, the remaining 3 all had motives. At this point, Dazhuang spoke again, saying none of this was a coincidence, and devils wouldn't act secretly. There was a reason these people saw what they did. This time, the detective didn't deny Dazhuang's words. The scene returned to the elevator. Even though Xiaoshui was scared, he decided to lower the old lady's body. Her stolen wallets fell out. Xiaoshui tried to close her eyes several times, but they kept opening. The security guards said it takes hours for a corpse's eyes to stay shut. This made Xiaoshui even more suspicious of the security guard. Meanwhile, the detective searched the bathroom and finally found Xiaoshui's backpack under the sink. When emptied, it contained all plumbing tools. Xiaoshui remained the prime suspect because he not only hid the backpack but also avoided registration. The scene returned to the elevator, where the remaining 3 were. Xiaomei, being the weakest, tried to befriend the security guard. When Xiaoshui introduced himself, he was shunned. Clearly, Xiaomei and the security guard had teamed up. Xiaoshui noticed something odd about the security guard, as his claustrophobia seemed to have vanished. He believed the security guard was lying from the start. He didn't think the petite Xiaomei could be the culprit, so it had to be the security guard. With that, he attacked the security guard. Xiaomei cheered for the security guard, but the tall security guard was no match for Xiaoshui and quickly fell behind. The returning detective saw this and quickly warned them to stop fighting, telling them to stand apart and wait for rescue. The building was now surrounded. After making arrangements, the detective asked Dazhuang a question. According to Dazhuang's beliefs, how would this end? Dazhuang said everyone would die. Hearing this, the detective laughed, clearly unwilling to believe it. At this moment, the assistant discovered new information. Xiaomei also had a criminal record for extorting wealthy married men 3 times. She had no criminal record for several years because she married into a wealthy family, aiming to fight for inheritance rights. Today, she came to Dasha to find a lawyer named Wayne. Upon receiving this information, the detective immediately found the lawyer and finally got a clue. He guessed that Xiaomei wanted to seize the tycoon's wealth, and the tycoon, in hatred, wanted to kill Xiaomei. The detective suddenly realized that the security company hired by the building was under the tycoon's company. The detective immediately understood that the security guard in the lift was likely the killer. The 2 who died earlier were probably a distraction. Meanwhile, the lift lights flickered again. The lights started flickering again. The 3 of them looked at each other, extremely tense. As the lights went out again, the detective quickly reminded them to use their phones to light up the lift, preventing it from staying dark. But then, unexpectedly, with a swoosh, all their phones were snatched away, plunging the lift into darkness, followed by a burst of noise. When the lights came back on, the security guard was twisted like a pretzel on the floor. Tragedy struck again. Xiao Mei and Xiao Shuai began to suspect each other, claiming the other was the real killer. They picked up glass shards and faced off. The detective shouted for them to put down their weapons, but the two, mentally strained, couldn't listen. The detective hurriedly urged the firefighters to speed up and asked Dajuang how to save them. Dajuang said there was no way because they couldn't see their true selves. Their lies led them to the devil. After hearing this, the detective pondered deeply and then told them. The detective shared his story, and perhaps his sincerity moved them. Xiao Shuai and Xiao Mei put down the glass, but unexpectedly, Xiao Mei had a trick up her sleeve in her pocket. Suddenly, the lift lights flickered again. At the critical moment, the firefighters finally broke through the wall. The most tormented were the two in the lift, knowing that when the lights went out, the next to die might be them. Xiao Shuai quickly picked up a phone from the floor to take a picture, while Xiao Mei quietly took out the prepared glass. Suddenly, the lights went out again. When they came back on, Xiao Mei was lying in a pool of blood. Undoubtedly, the surviving Xiao Shuai became the only suspect. At this moment, a woman entered the monitoring room, explaining that Xiao Shuai was her fiancé, here for a job interview. Not wanting to bring tools, she came to take them away. The detective confirmed the name given by the woman. Finally, the match was successful. Xiao Shuai was registered, leaving only the old lady unregistered. Then, the old lady, who had turned into a corpse, eerily stood up, scaring Xiao Shuai to the point of wetting himself. Everyone was shocked by this unbelievable scene. The detective quickly ordered the officers to open the lift and arrest the old lady. The old lady asked Xiao Shuai if he was ready for his turn. Looking at Xiao Mei in his arms, Xiao Shuai couldn't help but recall his past mistakes. 5 years ago, he was drink driving and crashed into a car driving normally. When he got out to check, he found the other person had no signs of life. In extreme fear, he chose to flee the scene, leaving a note saying he was very sorry. The old lady said those who have committed wrongs will be taken away by her. Clearly, the old lady is now possessed by a demon. Xiao Shuai said let the demon take her away, as she lives in regret every day. She shouldn't have fled from that accident. The demon roared, stopping Xiao Shuai from speaking further. The stuck lift suddenly plummeted downwards. The demon questioned Xiao Shuai, do you think this benefits you? You're not a good person. Do you think you can bear the consequences of your choices? No, do you think you can be forgiven? In the end, Xiao Shuai decided to confess his crime to the detective. After hearing it, the detective was stunned, realizing the culprit who killed his wife and child was right in front of him. Xiao Shuai apologized again, matching the words on the note he left. After confessing, Xiao Shuai finally accepted his guilt in silence. Perhaps Xiao Shuai's sincerity moved the demon, who left him with a message. Suddenly, the entire building lost power. When the power was restored, the firefighters finally opened the lift, but the detective was shocked to find the old lady's body had vanished. They searched the whole building but found nothing. In the end, Xiao Shuai was arrested for his crime, and the detective chose to escort him on his final journey. On the way, he chose to forgive Xiao Shuai, finally resolving his own inner conflict. I forgive you. If my mum could finish your story, she'd always comfort us. Don't worry, she'd say, if the devil is real, then God must be real too.